I'm Annette L. Ranft, and I am the Dean and Wells Fargo Chair of the Harbert College of Business at Auburn University. So I have arrived at Auburn University as the new Dean of the Harbert College of Business, and I'm very excited to be here. It's been quite a journey to get here. I started out many years ago. I was a first-generation college student from the mountains of North Carolina. I went to Appalachian State University and got an undergraduate degree in mathematics. And from there, I taught high school for a very brief time in Noonan, Georgia, and then went back to Georgia Tech for my master's degree and got a Master of Science in Management then. It was sort of like a technical MBA back then. And I worked in industry in Atlanta. I worked with AT&T and I worked with EDS. And from there, I went back to North Carolina and got my PhD in strategic management. And that was my transition into academia. And from there, I went to West Virginia University. That was the first faculty appointment that I had. It was an opportunity for both my husband and I. We were dual academics at the time, and so West Virginia University gave us an opportunity to pursue our dual career in one location. From there, we ended up at Wake Forest University a few years later, where we spent several years in Winston-Salem. I was recruited to Florida State by someone who I had known for many years in my academic area. He had also graduated from Chapel Hill with the same PhD that I did, and he recruited me to Florida State and then encouraged me to step into the department chair role shortly after I arrived there. And that was my step into academic administration. Never really saw myself going down that path, but for that matter, I never really saw myself getting a PhD in the first place. Once I stepped into administration, I realized I was a pretty good researcher, I was a pretty good teacher, but I was surrounded by people who were exceptionally talented in those areas. And so I found that I was pretty good at leadership, pretty good at administration in this kind of environment. And so from there, I have had a career in academic leadership, academic administration. Moved to Tennessee and served as the Senior Associate Dean of Business there. And then realized there was an opportunity to be a dean, and I had to decide if I wanted to be a senior associate dean for the rest of my career or if I wanted to step out and really lean in and try to be the dean. And so I did that at NC State. I'm very fortunate that Auburn University started knocking at my door and encouraged me to look at what was going on down here. This is a great opportunity. It's a big opportunity, and so I'm thrilled to be here now. It's kind of a long journey, and I wish I could say that I had planned it all out, but in fact, I never really planned it out. I just kind of looked behind those doors that opened up along the way and tried it, and didn't shy away from trying something new. So this is where I am now, and I'm thrilled to be here. So I am the first female dean of the College of Business here at Auburn University. There's been strong leadership over the years in the college, and I am a little bit different in that I'm the first female to serve as the dean at the university. I think that's not particularly that unusual. We are in many ways coming into our own in business schools. To be a dean, you typically have to go through the ranks of assistant, associate, full professor, and then serve in other administrative capacities prior to stepping into the dean role. And for many years, female faculty in a business school were very limited. Only in recent years are we beginning to see more and more women at our stage of career. And so I think some of that is just a natural progression for us, and the time is right. It was also very refreshing when I came through the interview process here at Auburn University. The search committee actually talked with me about this and kind of pointed out that there was a long legacy in the College of male leadership, and that I would be the first female leader in the college, and asked if that would bring any particular opportunities or challenges to the role. I can't say that I've given that a lot of thought, honestly. I love what I do. I love the job. I love the work. I think we're led to a higher calling in many ways when we have the opportunities to work in higher education. So that's always been where my focus is. I think when you reach these levels of an organization, there are always challenges and there are always unique opportunities, and we bring our own experiences and our own background to the table. I think probably the most obvious thing that I have faced since starting here is that people point out to me that I'm a woman. that's a rather unusual thing. And I think it's as much seeing something different in the office as anything else. Usually doesn't last long. It doesn't detract from what we're trying to accomplish, but it is new. And I think that that's kind of exciting to see us come into maturity in these leadership roles in higher ed. And in particular in a college of business. So I've been asked to talk about what words of wisdom I might have for other women who are interested in pursuing careers in academia. I would say first and foremost, make sure you're following your passion. Make sure that you are truly driven by the content area that you're interested in pursuing, because this is a long career, and it's sometimes a lonely career. It's a lonely career as an academic because very often you're focused on your own research, your own scholarship, you're immersed in data, you're pursuing thought, you're trying to answer important questions. You do get the opportunity to work collaboratively with others, and when you can pull together that research team with common interests, there's nothing quite like it. I will say that I have never regretted stepping into academia. I would give anyone who is interested in pursuing academics, go ahead and do it. Make sure you're following your passion. Make sure you are doing it both for the research side of things as well as the teaching aspect. We all kind of know and understand the teaching side because we've all been through that. But it's the research side, and it's the pursuit of knowledge and the pursuit of thought and ideas and discourse in academia that makes it really, really powerful. I would also advise people, especially women going into academia, it's a marathon, it's not a sprint. And very often in my early days, I felt as though my male colleagues were sprinting through. And for me, it was a marathon. Early on in those years, I had to learn that I did have a family, I did have children, I had a spouse with a career as well. That's a whole lot of things to balance. And I would say in the first year of my first academic appointment, I remember reading an article I think in the New York Times about blending work and family and life, not balancing work and family and life. Balancing implies kind of a juggling act. And for me, that reframing was really important, that this is my life, my academic career, my family, my children, my spouse, all of that was blended into who I am and where I was going. And so that made a big difference for me in terms of slowing down and thinking about this as a marathon throughout my life. It is not a sprint. Sometimes I could move faster than others. Sometimes I could take on bigger challenges and bigger hills to climb than others. But I didn't have to stop just because I didn't win the sprint. So I think that's a real important thing to consider as well. I think it is a real privilege to be able to be a leader in higher education, whether you're male or female. It's a real privilege. I think there's an extra responsibility for women as we mature into that stage of our career, and there are more of us moving into that stage of career where we can take on those additional responsibilities and those leadership roles. Simply by doing that, we're in the room and we can change the nature of the conversation. I think that our presence in the room is an obvious thing, and sometimes we may bring a different perspective in just from our different backgrounds and our different experience bases. So I think that's important, to see a door that might be open, look behind it, step across the threshold, and see what's on the other side. Simply by doing that, we begin to be role models for others. We begin to understand what's behind that door so that we can help others understand what to expect when they too have the opportunity to walk through that door. I've also been very blessed in this career to have multiple mentors, individuals throughout my career that have been important mentors to me, both men and women. And I must say, primarily men, because many of those were the individuals in the roles that I was able to follow into. I've had folks that I've learned different things from. I've learned how to be compassionate and still make difficult decisions and communicate effectively. I've learned how to think strategically and move forward strategically from my mentors. I've learned how to understand what really is noise and what really is important. And that comes from different mentors at different times in my career. I've also learned from other mentors to not sweat the small stuff and hire people to help me out at times. So different people gave different advice. And I think that's important. So as we have the opportunity to take on leadership roles and move forward in higher education administration, to think about what we're learning and to think about those lessons that we can share with others and how we can help demystify the process and the path, and that it's okay to get support and it's okay to ask questions for the generations that are coming behind us as well.